going to continue with our delicious sauce, which has been simmering this whole time. It's been simmering for about 40 minutes, so it is nice and reduced. What we're going to do next is strain out all of the solids that we had in there, and we're going to put it back on the flame with the cherries. We're going to bring it back to a boil, and then we're going to cover it and set it off to the side until we're ready to sit down. We've got all our little chunkies in here. I'm noticing something right now as I look in the pan that we've got a layer of fat on the top of it, and I'm thinking that before I bring this back to the heat, I'd like to try to strain some of that off. Well, actually skim some of that off. Kind of using a shallow spoon here just to take a few tablespoons of fat. So, I'm going to turn the heat back up. I have half a cup of pitted, dried, tart, someone told me to pronounce it Montmorency cherries. And we're going to toss that into the sauce, and it's going to give it just a really nice, fruity, rich flavor. It's going to go really well with the port that's already in there, the stock, and all the wonderful duck flavors. So here, we'll add that to the sauce. Those cherries are going to absorb the liquid from the sauce, and they're going to kind of plump up and be all tender and juicy right when we sit down. So it'll be perfect. We're boiling nicely, so what we're going to do is cover it, turn the heat off, and set it back here. And that's going to be just fine until right before service, when we'll bring it back to a boil and put it on the table, and it'll be just yummy. Of course, we'll taste it before then, but yum. So I just wanted to check our sauce while we had a moment. It's been sitting for about 20 minutes now, off the heat, covered. So let's have a little try here, and I'm going to slurp it, you'll notice. It's nice and tart. I can really taste the cherries. It's got this wonderful meaty duck flavor to it. It's going to be just fantastic. I added a little bit of salt to the sauce, and I also want to thicken it slightly. I'm going to use a cornstarch slurry, which is nothing to be afraid of. It's just about, this is about a teaspoon of cornstarch. And what we're going to do is, I'm just going to add a little bit of water to this and stir it so that it's the consistency of heavy cream. We've added our cornstarch. And it might be difficult for you to tell at home, but as soon as this comes back to a boil, that thickening agent is going to work its way through all of the liquid, and it's going to give the sauce a kind of a silky, thick, smooth texture. And so we're going to just let that simmer a little bit while we get ready to start our potatoes. And that'll be good to go when we sit down to eat, which will be pretty soon. Oh my, I'm so excited. The potatoes have been in for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Our delicious little potatoes were in a 350-degree oven for 35 minutes. And I don't know if you noticed, when I pulled them out, I made a little uh-oh noise. That was just because they were sticking a little bit to the pan that we were cooking them in. They came up fine, I just had to kind of scrape them a bit. So I'm going to reset the timer for another 30 minutes. At the end of those 30 minutes, the duck should be done. We should be finished with our fried potatoes. The sauce will be ready, and we'll be able to sit down. So, what we're going to fry them in is some nice hot duck fat. I recommend getting to know your local butcher, particularly if you have a little gourmet shop near you where they make their own sausage and get unusual meats in, because sometimes they can get a hold of things like duck fat by the pound for you. Don't worry if you don't have duck fat. Olive oil, any other kind of fry oil will work just fine. Your potatoes will be delicious, so don't fret. But that said, duck fat is just sensational. I'm going to use my heavy iron skillet to heat up the duck fat to a nice hot consistency so that the instant we drop a potato in, it'll sizzle. That's how you'll tell you got the temperature right. I'm going to turn this to about a medium-high temperature, and we're going to scoop in generous portions of duck fat. And refrigerated, this will last in your refrigerator for several months. If any kind of off odor to it, you'll know it's gone rancid. Get rid of it. There's nothing you can do at that point. But this is still fresh and clean and warm and buttery. Now you can see the duck fat is already beginning to melt. It's going to take just a few minutes for this to get to the proper temperature. So I'm hearing some spattering and sputtering in my oven. And I'm thinking it's time, even if the duck's not done, it seems to be getting close. So let's have a good look at it and see. I recommend a digital instant read thermometer. This tells you what the temperature is going to be inside anything that you're going to cook. You want to be a little careful with any birds or any other meat that's going to have a bone in it. You don't want the thermometer, the metal part of the thermometer, to touch the bone because it'll screw up your temperature. I'm going to check the bird in the thigh, and we're going to see what the internal temperature is. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave it back in the oven until we're done with the potatoes. And that should be fine. We could eat it right now, but a few more minutes won't hurt it, and that'll be fine. Now, it looks like our duck fat is just about the right temperature here for us to fry our potatoes. I can hear it making noises. We're going to try it by putting a single potato into the fat to see what it does. Okay, notice it didn't start fizzing instantly, so we're not quite hot enough. But this will be our sacrificial potato. Once that one starts bubbling quite a bit, and it's beginning to, we'll know that the temperature is just about right. You never know. I mean, oil is really dangerous. It's very hot. If you spill it on you, you're in trouble because it soaks right into your clothes. It'll get into your skin. You can really hurt yourself badly, so please be careful out there. That said, if you can smell, there's sort of a light, nutty, buttery smell in my kitchen right now from that duck fat. Oh, God, it's great. Okay. Whenever you lay something into hot oil, see this is shaped like a coin, lay it so that it flops away from you. That way, in case you do splash a bit, you're not going to splash anything toward yourself. Now, be careful. You notice my fingers are getting very close to that oil, so just be very, very careful if you do try this at home. Don't crowd the pan, that's what I'm trying to say.